Hey, welcome to the UltraChenTV Tuesday show. I'm Ultra David.
And I'm James Chen. This is your day to find out all of your FGC news, but for us, it's a Tuesday.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about what happened on this Tuesday. It was a particularly interesting Tuesday.
Yes.
On this particularly interesting Tuesday, the Evo Games Lineup was announced. The Evo location was announced. There's a little bit of info about the split, the days split, and in fact the location split. Other than that, we'll talk about tournament results like ESL happened, Frosty Faustings happened, Mad Catz V Cup. We'll talk about some other crap, probably. But most interestingly, let's do Evo Games Lineup.
That's right. Always probably one of the most important or one of the biggest anticipated days of the year for the FGC is to find out what games are going to be at Evo. So Mr. Wizard showed up with Mike Ross at Red Bull Esports.
Yeah.
For the Red Bull Esports stream, and they did a reveal show with a couple of guests who snuck their way into the studios, crafty, getting past security guards.
I thought that was awesome. So, you want to just hop into which games were picked?
Yeah.
And then we'll sort of talk about each one and the overall feeling of it.
Let's do that.
Okay, so the games are, 9 of them, Street Fighter V, Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, Tekken 7, Mortal Kombat X, Killer Instinct, and Pokken Tournament.
Yeah, that one
Pokken Tournament
was kind of the surprise.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Pokken is the biggest surprise in there. The other ones, a lot of people expected. Some people thought that there might have been Street Fighter 4 in there as well, something like that, but I think a lot of people expected the rest of those games to be
Yeah. I mean, what did you think overall of the lineup?
Very happy with it. That is, other than Pokken, that's the games lineup that I expected.
Right.
Street Fighter 5, everybody expects it to be the new hotness. You got to have it in there.
Yeah. It's the Capcom Pro Tour, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was probably the one that was guaranteed going to be in there.
I think
most.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then you had to have Melee, I think, because it's, a gigantic game, and Smash 4, because even though they're both Smash games, and people who don't pay attention to the scene might not be down with that, the two scenes have very different tournament entry peoples, right?
Yeah.
They have
very little crossover.
Yeah, Wizard said that they're like 2/3 different entries,
right?
Sort of distinct, I should say, which is really impressive at Evo. And of course, those are the two biggest games outside of Street Fighter 4. So you had to have both of those back, I think.
Yeah. So those two games, besides Street Fighter 4, almost 2,000 players.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
MKX had a great showing. There were 1,200 people there. It's been a consistent tournament game for since it came out, and there's going to be even more support going on in the future.
Yeah, for everybody except for PC.
We'll definitely get to that. Yeah. Killer Instinct has been there for a couple of years, but it's been growing, and it's going to be coming on PC. So I think that's a good pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing a lot for the community itself has been doing a lot. Obviously, the KI Cup is this weekend, which hopefully should be a really, really huge kind of fun, hype event.
And then, of course, Xrd was sick last year. So, I mean, I think that all of those, and it's still a big tournament game, I think all of those make total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the confusing one is Pokken, right? The two big things are Pokken and no Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Yes.
Right. So Ultra Street Fighter 4, obviously 2,000 players last year. This year, not there. It's kind of we talked about it with Smash, right? I mean, you had 2,000 players, so of course you want to bring them all back. But then, why not Ultra Street Fighter 4? Well, Ultra Street Fighter 4, a lot of people are kind of seeing as being replaced by Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
And Wizard mentioned this on the stream as well, that he said that he felt like that there would be a lot more crossover between those two, right? Between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
So basically you're serving one audience for that one.
Yeah.
And for a tournament like Evo, you really want to serve as many different audiences as you can.
Yeah.
The two, as you mentioned, the two Smash games don't have a lot of crossover.
Right.
Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5 probably would have had a lot more crossover than that. So
I definitely think that's true. Because it's been what's happened whenever there's been another Street Fighter game, it's been like that. With the exception of many years ago when it was quite distinct between ST and Third Strike and stuff.
Right.
But that's a long time ago. When Third Strike was over and Street Fighter 4 was coming out, that did happen. And of course some people stayed away from SF4. I don't want to say that everybody liked it. Certainly many people didn't, and they didn't play it. But the crossover was very strong. Very, very strong. When Street Fighter Cross Tekken came out, the crossover was very strong. So I think it's reasonable to expect that Street Fighter V would be the same way.
Yeah, and you know, there's obviously a lot of people in the chat who are still angry about Smash Brothers. A lot of people are mad that there's 2 Smash Brothers in the tournament. There's still that prevailing thought, I don't know why, that Smash is not a fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how many times we've said that, but that thought just has to stop, because honestly, it's not only a fighting game, but their scene is very strong.
Oh, yeah.
They just had Genesis 3, which was huge. They just had so many players. It was a great production. It was huge, especially in the absence of Apex as their big Smash tournament of the year. And, you know, they put so much effort. They do so much work for that community. Like, Evo is a celebration of the fighting game community. And to not have those Smash games there, I think, would just be a mistake.
Yeah, no, look, it doesn't make any sense from any of those perspectives to not have both Smash games. If you think of Evo as just being a business and it wants to have as many people there, Smash games. If you think of it as serving just different fighting games, Smash games. Serving different scenes, the Smash games. I mean, from all those angles, they have to be in there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
that's no surprise.
A lot of people are saying technically it's not a fighting game because it wasn't coded to be one. You know what? I wouldn't even have cared if Virtual On made it into Evo, because I considered Virtual On almost a fighting game. I mean, it practically is.
I wouldn't have even addressed those complaints.
Right.
I think that's absurd.
There you go.
Not even worth talking about. So.
Okay.
Anyway, Pokken, though, I think is definitely a surprise. So I haven't seen it that many times. In fact, I think the only time I have watched it was when Markman and Spooky and Rip, and I think it was Justin was there, and there was a whole there was a whole exhibition with Pokken Tournament, and I gotta be honest, I thought it looked cool, but that's the only time that I've seen it. So I don't know how it's changed. I know that there have been some characters that have been announced since then, but I thought it had some interesting ideas. It's just, that said, I still think that it's quite out of the blue as a pick.
I mean, you know, it's interesting. If you think about it, if they didn't put in Pokken, and let's say they did put in Ultra Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5 would be the only new game. And I think that would just be weird.
Huh.
You know, everything else is a return. Street Fighter 5 is literally the only new game, and
I didn't even think about that.
I do feel like that maybe it's kind of good to try at least more than one new game.
I totally agree. I just didn't even notice somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, so trying Pokken and Street Fighter 5 I feel like is a good risk, and especially because, you know, Wizard said that there was going to be finals all 3 days.
Yes.
Again, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They said they're doing 1-3-5 format that they've done the past few years. And, you know, Pokken might not get a bunch of numbers.
Right,
might not get a lot of entrants. So it might be perfect to put in the Friday slot. You have to have a game without a lot of entrants to fill that Friday slot.
Okay.
Maybe that was kind of their thought process, you know, picking a game like Pokken and putting that in there.
But so. It could be big. I mean, you don't know. Since it's going to be coming out, we just don't know how big the game is going to be.
Give me 1 second.
It could be. I mean, imagine it's something like Splatoon, where Splatoon is announced and people are like, "Oh, what a cool game!" But then it comes out and it blows up.
Right.
In terms of the scene could be gigantic all of a sudden. And if they're banking on it not being big, then maybe they'll be right, but they might be wrong, and that could be tough to deal with.
Yeah. By the way, I'm still really sad that there isn't like some crazy Splatoon league right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think things are in the works, but
there's like small leagues going around, but dude, that still needs to be bigger.
Well, you know.
In any case,
Splatoon was at Evo last year. If you recall. So okay, that's Pokken. I think that's the only game in that lineup that is a surprise that it's there.
Right. A lot of people started feeling doom and gloom. Marvel fans, I should say.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Wizards saved that for the 8th game announced just to kind of string them along as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that game was definitely one of the ones that a lot of people probably felt was on the chopping block.
Look,
right?
if you had asked me 6 months ago whether I think Marvel's coming back, In fact, I remember tweeting that I didn't expect it to come back. Right? But since then, it feels like there's been a bit of a resurgence. Of course, people have really spent a lot of time, working on the scene itself. The community has put in a lot of work to try to get more events, more streams, all those things, and I think it's been successful.
Hang on. Yeah, and here's a funny thing, though. So people were worried that Marvel had the potential to be on the chopping block, right? Let's say Marvel didn't make it in there. Let's say Blaze Blue was in there instead. Here's another thing that you might have not noticed. If that happened, there would be only one Capcom game.
Well,
Evo.
I mean, honestly, that's totally fine with me.
No,
I don't
mean,
care.
Right, but I mean, that just shows, because I mean, a lot of people have always said that Evo was always a Capcom tournament, and they don't care about it. Dude, this year there's only 2 Capcom games in there.
Right. Well, was that the case last year then?
Last year?
Because it's just Street Fighter 4 for Street Fighter 5, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. So there you go. But I mean, again, a lot of people have always kind of made that claim that it's always just been mostly a Capcom event.
But many years ago, I mean,
yeah,
of course, many years ago it was primarily a Capcom tournament, but like that was North American Fighting Games.
Right.
Time, so
exactly.
That was it.
So
now the lack of Street Fighter 4. You just do it whenever. Just whenever you need it to do it, just do it. The lack of Street Fighter 4, I am sort of surprised. Maybe not surprised is the word, but maybe just a little bit, because I sort of expected that they would still try to see if there's a scene, because when Street Fighter 4 came out, they still had Third Strike for another year, still had Marvel 2 for another year, stuff like that. But it's gone, and I wonder what you think about that for the Street Fighter 4 scene.
I mean, it's kind of sad. I know a lot of people still really love the game. We saw K-Brad kind of tweeting about it at one point in time, saying that Street Fighter 4 should stay around, and he was saying that the game is, it's the god, kind of thing. And so there's definitely a lot of fans of the game, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I'm sure there's going to be a side tournament. Mad Catz will probably have a Street Fighter 4 side tournament if they feel like having 2,000 people for a side tournament. Good luck with that. But, I mean, again, I think Wizard kind of said something that really... I was kind of sad that it wasn't in the lineup. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen it come back. But Wizard said something that really kind of made sense to me. 7 years in a row.
Right.
That's a long time for
a
game to be in there. Yeah, it was all these like slightly different versions, but let's face it, you can't really cry for Street Fighter 4 because it had its time. It was the marquee game for 7 years in a row.
Is that longer or as long as Third Strike was at Evo after it was called Evo?
Right.
From like 02 to 08.
That is, isn't it? Because that's 7 years.
Long.
That's 7 years. But 02 did not have Third Strike.
Is that so?
Yeah, it was only the 5v5 exhibition. That was the year that everyone fought to get Third Strike back into Evo with the Shoryuken avatars. It was put Third Strike at Evo avatars, and eventually it came back the next year.
Wow.
That was the year where Tokido debuted the unblockable on Justin, and that we all learned about Ganajin. Because remember, Watson was in the 5v5, and he was using Sorai Rengeki with Yun.
Wow, so SF4 was actually the headliner and at Evo for longer than Third Strike. How about that? I just didn't even think about it until now. But no, that's...
And to be honest with you, Third Strike wasn't even the headliner for a while. No. MVC2 was the headliner for a lot of those years as well. So,
yeah. Well, I guess that really puts it into perspective for me as for how long it was in there. And it did have a really good run. It had a lot of really sick stuff. Thinking back to SF4, and we'll have a whole like SF4 retrospective episode, right? But not yet. But it did do a ton of stuff for the scene, and regardless of which fighting game you care about, Street Fighter 4 had a big role to play in the size of whatever your scene is nowadays. It just led to a resurgence in fighting games, just in general. Yeah. So we have a lot to be thankful for that game. But as for now, personally, I am sad for Street Fighter 4 fans. But also personally, I'm really happy because I played the game so much, James.
Oh yeah, we've watched
so many. I couldn't even tell you how many hours. It's certainly in the 4 or 5 digits.
Yeah, I mean,
of playing and watching that game, and I'm ready to move on.
Including games that you are playing yourself. I have probably watched more Street Fighter 4 than any other video game. In my lifetime.
For sure. There's no doubt in my mind that that's true for me.
Yeah. So
I'm ready to move on. And in that sense, I'm really happy that it's going to be Street Fighter 5 and not Street Fighter 4. But like really I said, I'm at the same time, my favorite games have died in the past or been dropped by major tournaments in the past and are now very small to the extent that they're still around at all. And so I understand that feeling. And I feel bad for people who would go through that for this game now. So I'm sort of on both sides of it in a way.
Yeah. I really liked, so Dan CT in the chat posted up a quote from Mike Z, and he said, Street Fighter 4 literally made it possible for you to pitch fighting games to publishers again.
Right.
I mean, it brought it back into as a genre that people care about.
100% it did.
There you go.
Absolutely, yeah. And a lot of people who started in on Street Fighter 4 after that found out that, hey, I prefer BlazBlue, I prefer Mortal Kombat, I prefer Smash, whatever, Marvel. That game did so much to bring people in. But again, we'll have this whole retrospective episode. I just wanted to briefly touch on the stuff for SF4 not being at Evo as an official game. You're probably right that there will be a side tournament.
Yeah, I can't imagine there wouldn't be. And not only that, even if Evo became Money Match Central for Street Fighter 4, that would be pretty damn hype. Because there's still a lot of people out there who really want to challenge. There's still some beef in that game.
Of course.
That way. So there's still going to be some epic money match. Like, can you imagine if Evo just had somehow they could make it so that they just showcased a bunch of grudge matches for Street Fighter 4?
That'd be very sick.
That'd be sick. That'd be pretty sick.
So anything else about the lineup itself? Do you want to talk about any of the other individual games?
Look, I'm just glad a lot of them are there because the coolest thing about it is for MKX, for Killer Instinct, these are games, normally when fighting games showed up, and for Guilty Gear I should say this, a lot of times when fighting games show up, they show up and then they just kind of trudge along. But Guilty Gear obviously has Revelator coming out, MKX, they're still expanding it, Killer Instinct has a Season 3 coming up. These games
Tekken 7 Fated Retribution.
Right, which is a brand new game.
Right.
But it's just like all these games, they keep getting the support. And I'm glad games like MKX and KI made it in there because it's kind of like a good way to thank them for continuing to support their game and the scene and such. So I'm happy for those games.
All of those scenes are legit. They're all active scenes. They all get hundreds of people at majors. I mean, it's good. I think all of those games are good, and the lineup I think appeals pretty well to what's going on in fighting games in general. Sort of in North America, but also games that are popular in Europe and Asia. I understand that it's only one anime game this time, but I really think that has at least something to do with the fact that BB Central Fiction is not going to be out on console in time, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm happy with the lineup. I'm
Same
definitely
here.
happy with the lineup.
Same here. So, do you want to talk about the location?
Yeah, so this was the other big shock.
Yes.
So Evo's been at hotels for years and years and years, and unfortunately, it's kind of felt like it was outgrowing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had 2 years ago we were at the LVH, and ballroom was really nice, but the hotel wasn't as great. Right?
Sucked.
But apparently that's the one closest to the convention center this year, and they've renovated it a bunch.
It's now called the Westgate.
Right. So apparently it's much nicer, which will be nice. But even like last year, the ballroom just didn't feel big enough, and it went back to the split room kind of setup. And I don't know, it really honestly started feeling like Evo was outgrowing it. And so they've announced that it's taking place at the Las Vegas Convention Center this year. I've never been to the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because you have for CES.
I've been to CES several times. Mm-hmm. That place is huge. Huge. It's like going to the LA Convention Center.
Oh, I mean, okay. It's like E3.
Yeah, it's like going to E3. Yes.
Dang.
It's huge, and to be fair, not every room is the like ridiculously giant thing, but it is. There are certainly gigantic rooms, and rooms that are much bigger than anything that's at any of the hotels.
Right.
And I guess that's what they need. What I hope is this case is that it's going to be in like the one big one rather than like the many smaller ones all segmented.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't think that would suck. I would just rather have Evo be in one room rather than like here's the Marvel room, here's the Street Fighter 5 room. I just think that would be crappy. So I hope it'll be like that. But in any case, yeah, dude, way bigger. Way bigger.
I mean, there's obviously a few, downsides to it. One is that the hotel is going to be separate. Oops. The hotel is separate from the venue. So you're going to have to wake up and walk about 5 minutes if you stay at the LVH, right? Or I'm sorry, the Westgate.
Right, Westgate now. Yeah.
But I mean, obviously the pros outweigh the cons, right? Because it's just really, which is ironic because it's a convention center. But it's really the size of it is it needs to get to that point. It really does need to get to that point. And it opens up a lot of opportunities because before you can't use up a lot of space at Evo for side things. But now this kind of opens it up for more things. They could possibly get super creative. Not necessarily this year. Take it one step at a time.
Right.
But opening it up for future years to have really just big extra things, sky's the limit at this point in time.
Yeah.
What they could do. And again, that's only for Friday and Saturday though.
Right, yeah. That's Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, it'll take place at the Mandalay Bay Sports Arena, which seats 12,000 people. And I don't know if y'all have seen the picture of the stadium yet, but it is legit. It's big. It's like bigger than, even though, look, I hear the word 12,000, right? And I like sort of have a picture of what that means in my brain. But to actually see the picture, it still is like remarkable to me.
Yeah, the picture looks sick, and it's gonna be on I'm sure they'll broadcast all the games on the Jumbotron thing that's in the middle.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, LVH 2 years ago, that ballroom, we were already blowing our minds because they said that room was gonna have about 7,000 chairs.
Right.
We're adding like another 5,000 to that.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna be able to seat a lot of people, and not only that, but it's reserved seating. When you buy your tickets, you're buying the seat, and you don't even have to you can literally leave and get food and come back because it's your seat now.
Yeah, right. So not only is it going to be at this giant sports stadium, literally a sports stadium, but it's going to be just a very different layout than before. The pit's not going to be there.
Yeah,
the pit's gone.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame.
I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been to an Evo, the pit is what we call the place that's in front of the front seats and in front of the stage. So in that little sort of in-between area where nobody's supposed to be, but where every single year, 100 people cram into this tiny little spot on the floor.
It's always been a fire hazard. So instead of fighting it the last couple of years, it was genius. They put a tape behind it and was like, if you're not in this tape, you can't be here.
Yeah.
So they let people be on the stage. But there's a lot of the beautiful shots that you get from the footage of the people leanings on the stage and, being right there. But, I mean, look, we saw the pictures from Genesis. You saw all the videos from Genesis. It's going to look amazing.
I'm not worried about how it's going to look. I will miss being in that box and, and,
going crazy.
Yeah, going nuts drinking and betting. And
how are we gonna get footage of L.I. Joe without him being in that?
He has to tell people where he's going to be seated, right?
Yeah,
he's got to give the Evo staff the heads up so they can make sure to put the camera on him.
So you can see him jumping around and being excited. Yeah.
No, I think that's too bad. So obviously there's a really good side to this of Evo being big and a lot of people can come watch, and it's a nice idea to have your own seat, but at the same time that does give up some of the sort of grassroots part of it that has always been a big part of Evo And then I mean, it makes sense that at some point of growing, that has to go away to some degree. I mean, in the last year, that other ballroom, the secondary ballroom, was just too small.
Yeah,
it was just too small,
Uh-huh.
and so they have to increase it. They want more people to be able to watch and more people to be there. But there is this trade-off. So I'm happy about it, but I'm also I'll probably feel a little bit of a pang of missing that stuff too.
But here's the question though: if you're a player and you make top 8, how scary is that view gonna be?
Oh, you think it's just players, huh? You don't think that as a commentator,
Dude,
you're
I was
gonna be right there?
I was gonna add
You're
that
gonna be
too.
right there?
See, I'm hoping that we're sitting off to the side, you know, like
We're not.
WWE, because
Guaranteed.
the stadium obviously has WWE. You know, they've
Not
had
gonna
it there. No, because see, I would have wanted to been on the side because that way when someone loses, I wanted them to grab their stick and like throw it through the commentators table and like shatter the table or something like that. I think that would have been awesome.
So, so the games that will be at the Mandalay Sports.
That's right. There's
Arena,
only 5 of the 9 games will be there.
Correct. Yeah, they will be Street Fighter V, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Mortal Kombat X, Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Marvel, baby.
Yeah, those are the 5 that are going to be there. I guess implying that, you know, Tekken will probably be the first day, and then the other 3 will probably be Saturday finals.
Well, it's like I said, Pokken might even be on Friday, right?
Yeah, and Pokken too. That's right. Yeah, okay.
So,
yeah.
But no, I mean, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be pretty nuts there. It's going to be unlike anything that we've done before. The FGC was what I mean, not just us as commentators, right? So, but it's the eventual growth. I feel like it has to go in that direction.
I think you're right. I mean, like I said, at some level of growing every year, you have to. I mean, there's a choice that you have to make of how are you gonna deal with it. And I think they're making a good choice in letting more people watch.
Yeah.
I just think that's good. To not let more people watch, I don't want to be like elitist about it. I don't want to be restrictive about it.
Yeah.
So I want more people to be able to be there. But that does mean at some level of growth that you're going to have you have to move. You have to change up the way that your seating is done, the way that your stage is done, all that stuff. So.
I'm just going to put this out there because other people are going to think of it. So I'm not really revealing any craziness or anything like that. But what's going to be interesting to me is you're going to start seeing threads and tweets from, like, let's say the Sunday lineup is announced and let's say Smash is no, let's do Marvel. Okay, Marvel's third. A lot of people there who are just for Marvel might team up with people who are only interested in Smash.
Oh,
Pool a ticket together, and then after they're done with Marvel, hand the ticket to the other guy.
Yeah, interesting.
So it'll be kind of an interesting thing.
Joey did say, Mr. Wizard did say that there's going to be a price package where it's going to be more or less the same price as last year to get all 3 days anyway.
Right.
Which I bet a lot of people will do.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see, if that's going to happen a lot.
Dude, it probably will happen to at least some degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll tell you one thing, though. I know a lot of people who will be there the whole day to watch everything.
Of course.
Because it's too much fun. So it's too much fun.
What do you... look, I'm not excited for it to not be in the hotel. Because it's so nice to be able to be in your hotel room 10 minutes later, assuming not a huge line, so maybe more accurately, 40 minutes later, you're down there in the ballroom. Right? And once everything is going and the line is sort of dissipated, you can go in between your bedroom and your ballroom pretty easily. If you forget something upstairs, it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe, for example, once you're done commentating and you need to go change into your shorts and get your bottle of tequila, it's right there.
Right. Or maybe lunch didn't agree with you and, it's just nice to have the privacy of your own hotel room.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. So I will miss that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, again, at some point of growth, you gotta figure out other ways,
But it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting. I'm happy for the growth. I'm happy that it keeps, getting bigger. I definitely like the fact that we're moving in this direction. I mean, you've already declared it, by the way, in your semi-monthly Daily Dot article, which you are now writing for.
I appreciate the accuracy in terms.
Yes.
Semi-monthly.
Which means twice a month.
Indeed.
You've already mentioned, and of course you mentioned this on our first episode this year.
Yeah.
Is that we are esports now.
Yeah. So I guess this is partially confirming that. Now, one thing that I also wanted to talk about with respect to the location is just thinking about physically the locations.
Okay.
The Westgate and the Vegas Convention Center are on one side of the strip.
Okay.
Mandalay is it's not the complete opposite, but it's like really far. Actually, no, isn't it literally the complete opposite? I was just briefly thinking of I was thinking, what's the one that has the volcano?
The volcano? That's not
the
Mandalay.
Mirage. No, the Mandalay is on the
yeah.
complete opposite side of the strip.
Yeah, Mandalay Bay is the one with the fountain, right? That's the Bellagio. That's the
yes.
Bellagio.
No, it's literally at the far end.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a schlep. So it's not like you'll be able to walk there in 5 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
You're going to have to get in the car. You're going to have to get in a taxi. No, I mean, not just that. There's a bus and whatever. You can...
Yeah, the Wizard talked about that. He talked about arranging transportation and stuff like that. So it'd actually be kind of a... God, I hate that so much.
Yeah. Well, it's dead, so don't worry about it.
It's still on, dude.
No, I mean, the console.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, it's still on. Well, don't worry. Dude, there's an Xbox One that's sitting right over there, and David accidentally brushed his elbow across the faceplate, so it turned on, because that's the way consoles work now. Ugh. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Because if they do arrange party buses to drive over there, I think that would actually be kind of...
That would be so... Yo, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just like arrange like party buses and have everyone trek over at once and like have everyone yelling in the... Can you imagine the bus full of Marvel players? Oh, man.
That sounds awesome. Now, one other interesting thing that I liked about it was that they were very open with how commentators will be selected.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in being a commentator at Evolution 2016, what you'll do is create a highlight reel of your own commentary and send it to Chris Seglia, who you can find on Twitter at ChrisSeg, C-E-G, which, first of all, hilarious, because he doesn't want to be like in public, and he's like the most possible in public he could be right now.
Yep.
Hilarious.
But the funniest thing about... Oh, go ahead.
But the second thing is just that's great. I mean, that's not the first year that they've done that.
Right.
But now it's like out there from the very start. It's like, if you have any interest in doing it, create it. Create your highlight reel. You can do it. I mean, if you're terrible at commentating, then maybe you won't be able to do it. But if you can put together a highlight reel, then you can do it. And it doesn't need to be like that you are already commentating at stuff, and so you're like, here's me at CEO or SCR or whatever. Make your highlight reel of you commentating over some stream. Like, you know how I do delayed hyper commentary on the UltraChen YouTube channel? You can do that and cut out pieces that you think are nice and put them up on your own highlight reel and send them over. Yeah. It's cool. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part about that one, if you do that with the YouTube videos, is that you can write stuff ahead of time and, plan
Well, fair enough, yeah.
So, point taken. Yeah. So, the funniest thing is, I mean, honestly, this is not any different than it was last year. Seglia literally asked on Twitter, like, send me your commentary reels. I retweeted it.
Same.
He got 0 entries. He got 0 entries last year. Nobody sent him a reel at all, and then everyone was like, why didn't he contact me for it? So if you want to be a commentator, send it in there.
Are you going to make one?
I would assume I'd have to.
I'm going to make one.
You're going to make one?
Yeah, I might make 2. Oh, by the way, mute. Okay. I might make 2. It's going to be me saying the stupidest stuff I've ever said. Okay. Because I just think that'd be funny.
Okay.
Like talking about bukkake and coming straight on his whatever I said. I don't even remember now. But also, I'm going to make a legit one just because...
You should do one that's just, holy Totinos! Holy Totinos! Holy Totinos!
Yeah.
Holy Totinos!
Last year, when Sigli was talking about this, he was like, you haven't sent one in to me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, how about I do this? How about I just get the entirety of Capcom Fighters Twitch channel and just send it into you. Here you go. But no, I think I'd like to make one. I don't want to be like so Dude, Hollywood that I
would be
can't
so
do it.
funny if you just did one with the highlight of you going bionic arm because you totally didn't say that, dude.
That would be so funny. Getting a clip of Noel. Yeah.
Man. But yeah. No, I mean, I'll probably make one.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be like.
I don't want to
too Hollywood about
just
it.
be like, hey, I'm gonna be
yeah,
in,
man.
you know.
Yeah.
But I've definitely talked to a lot of people already and said like, send your reel to, and we'll get into this actually when we talk about ESL.
Sure.
Okay. So, any case, anything else you wanted to say about Evo?
July 15th to 17th. I think that was all of the things that I wanted to address about it, but let me just take a brief gander at this. I wrote a little bit of notage.
Okay. Oops, hang on a second.
Yeah, upper and lower bowl in the seating area.
Okay.
Which is going to be cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's just going to be so intimidating for the players. And I mean, we were intimidated at Capcom Cup for 2 years in a row, being on the stage like that. And if we're literally sitting on the ring in the middle, I'm going to freak out. Like, it's I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this. We'll see. Well,
yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say. They didn't really bring up Street Fighter 4 on the stream, which I thought was completely expected.
They did talk about it a little bit.
Oh, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, it was one of the first questions that came
okay.
from the stream chat.
I guess
they mentioned it. And Wizard did just say it's like he had a 7-year run. You know, it was really good. It was really great. And he was the one who mentioned that the crossover with Street Fighter V would be really big. So it's better to serve more communities than it is just to serve just one community with 2 games, basically. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that is it about our Evo Games Lineup 2016 review.
Yep. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to just keep going? Or
let's take a break. When we come back, which one are we talking about here? Events.
Yes.
According to this.
Yes. So there's a bunch of events that happen, which is ESL, the Mad Catz Cup, and Frosty Faustings.
Okay, we'll get to that after this.
All right.
Crackle, crackle, pop.